Okay, so let me just update this in the group quickly. Okay, so I was just updating this one in the group quickly. Um, okay, almost done. All right, so I'm just going to quickly start with C1, just going to explain it a little bit. So what happened with C1 is we were in a downward motion. So I want to show you the difference between the C1 and the C5 setups as well. So C1, we realized we were selling, we had an impulsive move. We ran a fib from this high to these lows here. Price retraced, they hit the 38 here, and I entered sales. The price retraced and I re-entered. I was looking at this as my order block. So I re-entered, and my stop loss was now tight. It was just above this high here. So what ended up happening is price retraced, took me out and actually respected the 38.2. Yeah, so from that level they just dropped. There was no retracement. They didn't retest this zone. So that was a clean drop all the way down TP1, TP2, even beyond. And if you notice now, there was actually a retest, but it was late. If you notice, you see we had a red zone, which we had here. I'll just check now where it's coming from. We had a retest here, and we are also having a retest today. So let's see where the area was coming from. Okay. Oh, it's coming from this all-time low, I think. If I'm not mistaken, we had our all-time lows marked here, and we were anticipating price to come there. If they are retesting now, it might mean they still want to challenge because this is now the new all-time lows. So they might still want to push down towards this area as well. So that's my view for today. H1 is respecting the 13 EMA. And the only thing we need now, do we have a pattern on M15? If we have a pattern, then we are executing this trade. So we got a higher high here. This would be the order block, 50 EMA. So we can sell this at current market price. We can sell C1000 its current market price. That is 53.50. All right. So at the same time, I still want to pay attention to these order blocks here. If you notice, we've got multiple order blocks here. His price is coming up. So I'm just going to jump to M30. Let's see what we have here. Okay, come back to each one. Okay, just have one position here because the way I'm seeing it, Price might still consider, they might still consider coming back to this zone. They might still consider coming back up here. So just have one position now with your stop loss just above today's high. So this area, we've got the 200 EMA as well. That's where they might come to. But right now, the pattern, we have the pattern. That's why we're selling. So we've got one position in CMP. And what's our target? So right now, I want to see how they're going to interact with yesterday's lows. That's my main focus. So two things are going to happen. Either they're going to bounce and start pushing up, or they're actually going to break and potentially retest and give us a continuation sell maybe towards the low of the day, or maybe they might take it out a bit. But for now, I'll say the setup is there, the pattern is there. So let's just have one position on C1000. The target right now would be about 15 pips. Then we want to see what happens there. If they show signs of breaking, then we can target about 30 pips on this setup. So it's just one position for now, because I also feel like, let's see, on the daily, we took out liquidity here, but we took it out aggressively. As you can see, when we took out liquidity, we didn't really pull it back in. So that's what's making me a bit skeptical on the sell. Like they might want to retrace this price a bit higher, which means they will be pushing up here. So stop loss has to be right there, just above today's highs. So that's my view for C1000 for now. Going to C300, we still haven't reached the zone. I want you to notice we marked these zones yesterday. That's where we were going to wait for either a sell here or a sell here. So right now, we still haven't reached here. So still waiting for price to come up in this area before we can consider sells. Going to C500. C500 is the one which I had most of my money yesterday on C5. So I want to talk about C5, explain it a bit. Okay, as you can see, we had a pattern, right? So we want to talk about M15, then we want to look at H1, then we're going to look at the daily. So on M15, we had a nice impulsive move. So I marked my fib from this high to this low. So you can see there's the fib. Then price retraced. I saw them respect here. Then they came up. Then right here, at some point, I started selling. I think it was here, if I'm not mistaken. I had one sell. Then I had a sell limit on 47.70, which also activated when this price pushed up. And we were also in this fair value gap. So I had some confluences actually lining up, showing me that I could potentially sell. Then here, initially, I was looking for something like this. So I was looking for a potential sort of baseline bounce on TDI. But after this candle, that never came. So price continued trickling up, but still showing signs of wanting to come down. But at the same time, they were not breaking my safe entry here, safe entry here, safe entry here. Nothing was being broken. So they ended up pushing up, pushing up, pushing up, and they took me out. They took me out somewhere here. And I even looked at this level and I was like, okay, maybe we might respect this area, but already here the price had taken me out. So this move would have probably put me back to break even. And I might still have considered sales here. Why? Because I would have looked at this as a channel, as a retracement channel, and this as a drop and a potential retest and continuation. But what happened is price had taken me out and I was done for the day for this particular asset. And here I didn't chase it, I thank God. So firstly, the pattern failed. So this is an example of a failed pattern. Then number two is on H1, you would have noticed that price was literally refusing to come below the 13 EMA. This is where our entries were. So at some point, this was bearish. It was black. So that's where I was getting confidence that our price will most likely push down. But if you notice, I had a safe entry sell here where I wanted to also scale in. But price came and took me out. Then eventually they came and closed below the 13, which I was the point I was saying I could have sold if I was on the charts. But then you can see price will still have taken me out. But why was this happening? If we go to the daily now, daily will show you the bias. So on the daily, you see that we were bullish. bullish this day, bullish this day, bullish the day before yesterday, although we had a rejection here. So this rejection is the one I was basing my sell on because I was looking for a retracement before we continue up. If you watched yesterday's session, then you would have heard me talk about this. So this didn't happen because the bullish trend was strong. Price simply continued pushing up. So that's why I always emphasize you try to use the daily as much as you can just to get a feel of what the past few days we're doing. So here we're literally trading against the trend. That's why the setup failed. So you can just add that on your notes and maybe something else based on how you personally executed that setup. Then you see we can use that for future reference actually. So still bullish here, but again, I'm still open to seeing a retracement. So if I do see a sell pattern, I must still consider taking a very short-term sell. But what I want to advise is let's try to trade with the trend. So again, if you know me, the crash, I only look for sells. So as much as the price is pushing up, I won't really look for buys until the price starts to push down. So today, I do not have anything until the current daily candle turns black. Okay, I don't have anything for now until the current daily candle turns bearish. So going to B1. Okay, before I look at B1, I want to speak on B5. B5 is another example where we were trading against the trend. So again, you can see on the daily, uh, we had certified that price is now reversing. This is a reversal pattern. These two candles, that's a reversal pattern. So we knew that price is most definitely bearish and we were looking for intraday buys, which I actually explained, right? So if we come to M15, I want to show you the pattern I noticed. So when I was here, I realized price had hit this level here and it was failing to break, and this qualified to me as a stop hunt. So when they started to push up, that's where I gave the buy signal here, and I was literally targeting this area because if you notice the fib I ran is for a sell. So I was using that fib to get a point where price might potentially retrace to before continuing down. But what happened is because the trend was bearish, we only moved into blues a few pips, then this move took us out. From here, I didn't get in because I was like, okay, this price, as much as we've got a baseline bounce here and an extended leg, this price is bearish. So let me rather leave this asset alone. And if you notice, price continued to be bearish for the rest of the day to strong with a strong bearish candle, which you see here. Right now we're on the 13 EMA, so we still want to see how price will react. We can only buy B5 after it has a confirmed buy uh candlestick on the daily. So that means today we've got no trades. We still want the daily candle to close to see whether we are going to push back up or we are actually in a sell momentum. So right now we're on the line. We are on the 13 EMA, which is a dynamic support zone. So we still want to see how the daily candle will close. So we're just going to leave this on the daily. Then going to B1000. B1000, I remember I mentioned these zones. We were waiting for a buy, basically. So we had this zone marked out from the left, and I ran a fib from this low to this high. 38.2, we did not have anything. At the 50 level, we did not have anything. At the 61.8, that's where we started having something. So this was again a possible continuation to the top side. So the first H1 candle closed right here, and that was a sign for us to actually buy. But the reason I did not execute on this trade is because I was literally done for the day. I had executed on C1, I had executed on C5, which C5 was a loss. I had executed on B5, B5 was a loss. Only C1 was the one which was winning. So I did not want to continue like really chasing price and continuing trading because I had literally taken 3 trades already. So I did not take this. But if you're following this, I'm hoping you caught it. Because if you notice here, we also had like a sniper buy right there on that zone. These were all zones which we discussed in yesterday's analysis. So at this point, I also want to highlight the pattern. So after H1 is closed, H1 closed around this area, right? So let's go to that area and see if we've got a pattern which we could have used to execute. So first things first, price is retracing. They've hit an area here, sniper entry. We're now pushing up. So this is our order block. We agree that there's no order block here. This is the only order block we have, right? So I want to mark that order block with a gray zone as well. I'm going to remove the fib so that you can see. All right. So our point of interest is this area for a pattern. Remember, after H1 closed right on this zone. So in this area, that's where we start looking for a pattern. So if you notice, what we have is a peak, which is a lower low, and we've got an order block here. So price actually came to the order block. Initially, they respected it and showed signs of actually rejecting and wanting to continue down. So you could have waited for this price here, or you could have waited for a break of this zone, maybe a retest. So if you're on the charts, also you could have taken this because this also qualifies as a higher low, and this is an order block here. So you could have taken a buy anyway in here. But if you're waiting for a safe entry, then you could have executed. As you see this motion, you execute your stop loss above the last low, which would have been this candle here. So the TP or the pips taken would have been about, let's see, there would have been about, depending with where you entered, there would have been about 36, 37, 40, almost 50 pips on the dot, depending with your entry. If you had waited maybe for price to now retrace and you start to see them spike, that means you enter anyway in there. You could have taken anywhere from 40 to 50 pips with this move. Although the retracements were a bit deep, these were deep retracements. Usually this happens on B500, whereby price moves, puts you in like 30 pips of profit and retraces back to break even, goes into loss. Usually B5 moves like that. But at the end of the day, if you took this, please let me know if you took this because I want to see if people are actually paying attention to the analysis. So this was going to be a clean 50 pip move. Then looking at it today now, what do we anticipate on today's price action? So I'm going to jump to the daily. Daily shows me that we could get a retracement based on the last day's candle because this was yesterday. We had a bearish candle. Looks like we took our liquidity here, closed above, but then came close below. So chances are price could come down. The probability of the price coming down compared to going up, the probability of sales is high. So for now, I don't really want to bank on buys. As much as we are trading about the 13, I'm really open to seeing a retracement, especially after I see or after we see how yesterday's candle closed. I can only consider buys on B1000 if today's daily candle closes above these two. Then tomorrow I'll be looking for buys. But as the price is looking right now, I do not have any buys set up, and I'd rather wait for a retracement than maybe a potential continuation up. That's how I'm viewing B1000 today. So today I've got no setup here. I might just leave it maybe on H1 like this. Let's see what happens, but price will most likely drop than to go up. If they do come up, I won't have a clean setup. I'd rather wait and trade it tomorrow. Then yeah, going to B5, like I said, B5 is on the line. V2501S, let's see if we've got something today. Based on the daily candles, sell momentum, it looks like we are bearish. It looks like we're coming out of this consolidation which was happening here. So most likely we might get sales. So if we're going to get sales, what are we looking for on the 4 hour? We look for supply zones. The supply zone which I see on 4 hour vividly or clearly is this one, the last order block here. That's my point of interest. Then if we look to the left, these lows here, these are the lows from last week. Let me just confirm if these are the lows from last week. Yes, that's last week's lows right there. So that's also a point of interest for me. So I've got 2 points of interest which are literally like close to each other. Okay, there we go. So if I can get price retrace all the way up here and I get a pattern, then I can consider sells. If we come above, then we might consider a short-term buy. His price might be coming to interact with this 50, or they might just be coming to take out these highs here before they drop. But then this is the H4 chart, so this could take time. But my main point of interest is last week's lows, or this order block here. That's my main point of interest. Then going to step index. What's been happening with step? Yesterday, I don't know what we finalized on step, but I don't think I traded it. Since price was on the 13, I don't think I had a bias also. And right now, I still do not have a clean bias based on this price action on the daily, because here price can still reject and push down, or they can still continue to push up to the 200 EMA on the daily. So I literally do not have a bias here. I don't think yesterday we had a bias as well. I can see we had this level marked. So maybe we're most likely looking for something like this. Oh yeah, I remember we're looking for something like that. But I mentioned we've got the 200 EMA close by, which means price can literally just bounce off and actually push up. So let's see. I think that's what happened actually. We came below, rejected that level. This is the 200 EMA on H4, which was the 800 EMA on H1, and price literally started pushing up. So if you are scalping, the only thing I can advise you is if you have an H1 and you put a 13 EMA there, this just helps you with your immediate intraday buyers. If you want to buy anytime when your price is actually above the 13 EMA. You don't want to buy when it's too far. You want to buy when it's close. When it goes too far like this, you cannot buy. Its price will most likely be retracing. So in this area, this is where you look for potential buys. If you are looking for sales, you want to look for sales where price is trading below the 13 EMA. When it's too far like this, you cannot continue selling. You have to sell only when they are near the 13 EMA. So here you could have taken scalp sells, scalp buys. But in terms of day trading, or if you want to hold your trade for a couple of maybe hours. For me, there was nothing to work with there. And again, today I've got nothing to work with. Why? Because price is literally on a daily dynamic support and resistance zone. What it simply means is price is on the 13 EMA. So if we go to the daily, you see that price is on the 13 EMA right there. So the moving average, remember this, it's a dynamic because it's moving, right? It's a dynamic support and resistance. So if price is coming back down, and if you see here, these are rejections, it means price is acting as a what? As a support zone. When price is coming back up and it rejects like this, it means the EMA is acting as a resistance zone. So the fact that it's not on a fixed price is what makes it dynamic. So I just thought let me explain it. Maybe it's a term which people don't understand. So all moving averages, they act as a dynamic support and resistance. Instead of having a fixed zone like this, if price gets here, it's acting as a dynamic support. When it bounces off at the top, it's acting as a dynamic resistance. If it breaks and retests, it acts as a dynamic support, and we look for a continuation. If they get here, that will be a resistance, which will be a dynamic resistance coming from the 200 EMA. So I hope I helped somebody there. So in terms of setup, I do not have anything on step. Then on J10, J10 looks like they will continue being bullish. I remember we mentioned let's wait for yesterday's daily candle to close so that we see whether we are retracing or we are continuing. So this shows us or showed us that we are continuing to push up. So if we jump to H4, we are looking for demand zones. The only demand zone which I would say I'm seeing here is this order block which was retested. These ones are too close together. These order blocks here, they are too close together, so I wouldn't really want to make use of them. But let's see what we have on H1. Okay, coming to H1 now, you see that we've got this order block here. That order block there is in line with, or it's near a dynamic support zone, and this order block is also a support zone. So if price can tap into this area and show us that it wants to come up, we can take buys. What do we need to see? We need to see a rejection candle. We need to see candles like this. We need to see candles like this, candles like this. We just need to see a clean rejection of this area. Then we can look for a pattern on M15 and take buys. Since our bias is buys, that's an area where we can buy from. If they decide to break this level and maybe come to the lower levels, we'll be looking at how they react on the 50 EMA. Like we said, the moving average is a dynamic support zone. So we'll see if they can maybe bounce off here. The bias is bullish. So we're not looking for any sells. Unless, of course, they continue pushing down, down, down. I'll still say I'm still waiting for buys. So if I get a buy pattern at any point, I'll execute a buy until the daily shows me maybe that, okay, the D1 candle is now showing a rejection and we can come down. Then I can start looking for sells. So we just try to keep it like simple like that in terms of trend direction. So that will be my point of interest on J10. Step index, I've got nothing. V250, we're waiting for a retracement back into the zone on H4. This might take time, but that's the only point of interest I see. B500 is still on the line, it's still on the edge. So I still want to see how the daily candle closes. Then we can trade maybe from tomorrow going onwards. B1000, this one, what did we say about it? Okay, we said we are anticipating a retracement to the downside. So as much as we can get buys, price will most likely retrace based on the candlesticks I'm seeing here. So we'll just keep an eye on it. If they show a buy pattern, then maybe we can consider short-term buys. But as it stands, we could most likely see sales happening here. So just mark the current high of today. We might use it for a short-term buy as well. We'll just be targeting these highs here from yesterday and the day before yesterday. Then C5 still bullish. We will only start selling after the daily candle turns bearish. C1000, we had sold one position, and we'll just see how it plays out. Our stop loss is just above today's high. So we only have one runner here. The reason we have one runner is because we're still not sure if price wants to just come bounce off here and push up. Otherwise, from current market price, they might still want to come up to this level. So we can consider sells around 53.90 to 5400. But at the same time, you should know that it could be a reversal. Since we've set all-time lows, price could actually be reversing long term to give a buying bias. So just keep that in mind. But otherwise, a sell here and potential sells on that area. Then C300s, H4 looks like we're bullish. We're still waiting for them to come to this zone, which we marked from yesterday. So that's it for me, guys. I don't know if you guys got questions, you can ask now. There's about 6 minutes left. And if you have questions later, you can still send them in the Telegram group. If you've got any additions, subtractions, you can still send in the Telegram group. If you're trading something else besides what I trade, you can also share your views and we can discuss in the Telegram group. Otherwise, if we do not have any questions, thank you so much, guys, for making time to join. I'll just be updating during the course of the day. If I see any other signals, I'll just be sharing. But apart from that, enjoy the rest of your day. Good trading. Okay, was there a question there? Let's see. I just saw something on the chart. Can you look at US 30? Okay, let me quickly look at US 30. Let me see. US 30, US 30. All right, let me see. I hope you guys can see the screen there. Okay, so yesterday I'm going to explain how I was looking at it yesterday. For some reason, I wanted to sell it, but because it was Monday, I did not execute on the sell. I'm going to show you the sell which I had marked. For some reason, honestly, I wanted to sell it. If you notice, I was looking at this rejection on H1 as well. So yesterday, my trigger finger was right on the sell. I wanted to sell, but something made me not execute. I was like, you know what, today's Monday. Let me just leave it alone. You see, there's the marked setup on M15 as well. So this was what I was looking at. Price actually came into my fair value gap as well. Everything about this setup almost lined up. If you notice, this is how I was looking at it. So this was New York session. There was no clean stop hunt here, right? Let's start there. Then price gave this spike. So once I saw this spike, I knew liquidity is taken. And I'm now leaning on sales, but I couldn't use this price action. So I waited for something clear. So after price broke this level, you can see I had that fair value gap on M on the 5-minute time frame. So that's where I waited for price to get into. Let me zoom in there on the candles. I waited for price to get into my fair value gap. If you notice, they tapped into that area. So for a scalp sell, I feel like the position might have worked out, but failed. Because usually when I trade US30, I try to get like 100 points. You can see where I put a black line. That's my target. That's where I close. No matter how big the reward is, I usually close on 100. So they came tapped. Stop loss was just above here. They came into about 30 to 40 points actually. So for a scalp, this was going to be okay. But the setup ended up retracing and pushing up. And again, if you look at the daily, the previous day, which was Friday, was bullish. That means here we were trading, or I was trading against the main trend. So the price ended up taking me out here. And it actually pushed up in the correct bias which they had for the day. But at the same time, if you had continued following this, after they took out liquidity, after you can see this thing keeps coming in the way. You can see this high here. It was taken out here. We've got a fair value gap here. That's a trade. This sell here, that's a perfect trade. Price then retraced into this order block as well. Again, that's a trade. So you could still have taken a couple of trades there if you were really following it, but it was a bit late into the night and it was outside my trading zone. So how I'm looking at it today, I'm just going to quickly jump to the daily. I literally have 2 minutes to explain this setup. Okay, what happened to my candles? Okay, there they are. Okay, so based on the daily, as you can see, I would say my bias is still bullish. As much as we want to sell, as much as I want to sell, I would say I'm still bullish until I come back up to these highs. Most likely bullish. If I do not get a bullish trade today, it means I'll wait. I'll only trade tomorrow after I see how the daily candle closes. That's how I'm looking at it. So today I'm bullish and I'm looking forward for price to come back up to this high here. So if I'm bullish, it means I'm looking for any pattern which can line up with a buy. So based on this price action, I do not have anything too solid to use here, except maybe this zone. Here it looks like liquidity has been taken. So what I would just focus on based on the price action maybe would be this high here. See how price reacts there. Then M15, try to look for a pattern. So let me just say for US30, if you're on the charts in the afternoon, join at 3:30 in the afternoon. From 3:30, we'll share ideas. That's when I will have a clear view of where the price will most likely go. So based on the current market price, I don't have anything too clean. But if you're on the charts from 15:30 to 4 p.m. SA time, that's when I'll be active to trade US30. So I'm not also sure if there's a news event today. I'll cross check, then I'll get back to you. So we can still trade this together in the afternoon. So that's it from me today, guys. Thank you so much for joining. Good trading.